There is a huge winter storm about to hit the eastern part of our country, threatening to leave millions of people without power. So in this video, we're going to be talking about some ways that you can prepare for that coming power outage. All right, guys, now with this winter storm coming, now is the time to start preparing to make sure you and your family can get through until the power comes back on. Now, with the amount of ice and snow that's predicted, you want to make sure you're prepared for at least a couple days, if not a week to 2 weeks. So it's crucial that you have the items that you need to get you through that time. Now, this video is not going to cover super long-term grid down situations. There is a ton of videos on this channel that cover that. In this video, we're specifically talking about short term. We're talking days to a couple weeks, especially after natural disasters and winter storms. So in this video, I'm going to go over a few categories that you want to make sure you have covered, and we're going to highlight a few items that I think you should have around to be prepared anytime a power outage threatens your home. Now, we'll have links to all of these things in the description below if you want to get them for yourself. Now I'm going to get in here and talk about all the things I have laid out here, as well as some other tips for you. But first, guys, if you haven't done it yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, hit that notification bell, and give us a thumbs up. All right, guys, so anytime you think about a power outage, obviously the ultimate prep is going to be a generator. On the table here, I have the 2,000 watt Win inverter generator. This is a fantastic, affordable, and portable generator that would be great for powering some of the more important things around your home, like your refrigerator, of course, as well as keeping phones charged and things like that. Now, obviously, with generators, bigger is always better. So what I use primarily for my home is an 11,000 watt Win dual fuel generator. This is a generator that can run off both gas and propane, and it can power the majority of my house for as long as I can keep it fueled. Without a doubt, a generator is going to be the #1 preparation you can have to get you through a power outage and to keep those lights on, keep those major appliances going. And with a large enough generator, you can even heat your home with it. Now, along with your generator, you want to make sure you have plenty of extension cords, preferably extension cords with splitters so you can power a bunch of things at one time. Now, as great as a generator is, it is useless to you if you don't have the fuel to keep it running. So you want to make sure you have plenty of backup fuel. Now, a 5-gallon gas can like this will run my 11,000 watt generator for about 7 hours. So one gas can is not going to cut it. You want to make sure you have at least enough to get you through a few days. Now, my generator can run off both gas and propane. So another fuel source you really want to make sure you have reserves of is propane. Everything from these small propane containers to the 20-pound tanks. And if you have a large propane tank attached to your house for running gas logs, appliances, something like that, you want to make sure that you have that topped off and you have backups available. Now, while we're talking about fuel, another great idea is make sure that all of your gas tanks on your vehicles are topped off before the storm hits. If the power goes out at your house, it will very likely go out at the gas stations too. And you want to prolong your ability to use those vehicles as long as possible. Now, along the lines of fuel, we're not just talking about fueling a generator, we're also talking about powering some of your other preparations and other things you have in your house. So you want to make sure you have plenty of backup batteries. This is the Battery Daddy, and I love this thing. This just keeps all your batteries organized and together so you don't have to have stacks of those smaller boxes. And it fits everything from D, AA, AAA, 9-volt, really any kind of battery that you could need in an emergency situation. It's going to be right here. So make sure you have plenty of backup batteries to power your light sources, radios, and other things like that. Something else you want to consider is power banks. Everything from smaller ones like this to the larger solar generators. You want to make sure you have all of those kind of things charged before the storm hits. Go ahead and charge all your power banks, charge your cell phone, your computer, and any electronics that you have, so you give them a chance to last as long as possible once that power goes out. So that's going to cover most of our alternate power sources to keep things running once that power goes out. But the next thing we want to think about is light. Obviously, when the power goes out, so do the lights. So you want to make sure you have several lanterns and flashlights so you're not left in the dark. Now I really like to use lanterns. I try to have several of these so I can light up multiple rooms around the house, but it's also important to have flashlights. Have at least one for every person in your home. I also like to have some just strategically placed around the house. Now obviously you want a good flashlight, but these don't have to be anything special. You can easily get a 3-pack like this from Walmart for pretty affordable. So that's not just a safety thing you want to be able to see in the dark, but it's also going to be a big morale booster around your house, especially if you have kids. Headlamps are another really good idea while you're moving around the house, you're having to do things. It's nice to be able to keep those hands free, so headlamps are also a really good idea. As well as candles, you just want to make sure you're being as safe as you can. Unfortunately, a lot of fires happen during power outages, so don't let that be you. Now, when we're talking about a winter storm specifically, that's what's getting ready to hit us in the next few days. A major concern is going to be heat. Once that power's out, you need a way to stay warm. So something like this Mr. Heater is going to be a really good option. This is the larger version of that, and it runs off of these little 1-pound propane tanks. So make sure you have plenty of these to fuel that for a few days. This is a great little personal heater. They do advertise that it's safe to use inside. Now this isn't going to heat up your whole home, obviously, but it could easily heat up a single room. So in a real emergency situation, what you would want to do is close off one room of your house that you guys can stay in and keep warm using something like this. Obviously, if you have a traditional fireplace in your home, you want to make sure you have an ample supply of firewood. Waiting until the winter storm hits to go try to chop some is not the best idea. You're just going to end up with a bunch of wet wood. So make sure you have an ample supply stored in a nice dry place. Next thing you want to think about is food and water. Waiting until the last minute is not going to be a good idea. You don't want to be out fighting those crowds. Not to mention the shelves are going to start emptying pretty fast and you may not even find what you need. So it's very important to make sure you have at least a few days of food and water stored in your home at all times, but especially if you know a storm is coming and a power outage like this is possible. So we know everybody's going to run out and get water, milk, and bread. And those are definitely things that you want to have. So get those kind of things as early as possible. But with a power outage, our refrigerators, our stoves, and ovens are not going to be working. So having a good supply of non-perishable food like canned food and stuff like that is going to be crucial. Now, once those refrigerators and freezers do go off, you have a very limited time that you can use the stuff that you have in it. So if you have meats and things like that, you want to go ahead and use those up first before tapping into your non-perishable foods. Now you're also going to need a way to cook that food without traditional electricity. So a few items I like for this is something like this propane camp stove from Coleman. You can cook pretty much anything on this that you would be able to cook on your stovetop, and it runs off of these little 1-pound propane tanks. So while you're stocking up on those for your heater, make sure you have enough for your propane stove or your propane grill that you might have on the back deck. Charcoal is going to be another great way to cook food once that power goes out. So you want to be thinking about alternate ways to cook your food once those appliances in your kitchen stop working. Now, water is obviously going to be extremely important. For a lot of us, once the power goes out, that means the water in the sink stops too. So you want to make sure you have plenty of water. A good rule of thumb is at least a gallon of water per person per day. Now, theoretically, that'll give you enough for drinking and cooking, but that doesn't factor in things like hygiene and flushing your toilets. So something I've always done is before that big storm comes, I'm going to fill up every bathtub in my house. Now that's going to give you a ton, hundreds of gallons of reserve water that you can use for cleaning, hygiene, and filling the tank on that toilet so you can continue to flush it. So water is huge. Make sure you have plenty of water for drinking and cooking, but don't stop there. Make sure you're also thinking about some of those other uses you're going to need that water for. Now, something else a lot of people forget in these situations is first aid. So especially in winter storms, transportation is very difficult. You're not able to get out of your house and go to the doctor. Having medical supplies and a good first aid kit in your home to handle at least minor things is going to help keep your family safe without having to go out on the icy roads. So that's all I got, guys. I think that's going to give you a really good start on being prepared for those temporary power outages, a few days to a week or two. Just a little recap, we talked about alternate power sources, heat, light, food, and first aid. Do not wait until it is too late to try to get all this stuff. These are things that you really should keep around at all times, so when those lights go out, you're ready. Now we'll have links to all of these things in the description below if you want to get them for yourself. Let me know what you guys think. Did I leave something out? Is there something that I'm not thinking of? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section below. Help each other out to make sure we're prepared for that next power outage. Thanks for watching, guys. Please like, share, and subscribe, and keep those lights on.